You're listening to Careers and Cocktails, career talk with a twist, hosted by expert recruiter Renee Frey. Let's get this party started.
Hey party people, welcome back to Careers and Cocktails. Today we are going to be making an Apple Cider Mule, which is a perfect drink for fall. And we're kind of in our fall colors as well, so it's going to be spectacular. And we are featuring Lyndsey Bunger, who is one of my dearest, sweetest family members. She's actually my niece. And I brought her on today because she's a millennial. She's a super successful millennial, played volleyball in college for Michigan Tech, and born and raised in Minnesota, went to Michigan for college, and then ended up in Seattle of all places. But she has a background in hospitality, mortgage, and real estate, and we are going to ask her all the questions you've ever wanted to ask her about being a millennial in the workplace. But first, we're going to drink. So we have Grey Goose vodka, and Grey Goose was started in France in the 90s, and they sold in, I think, 2004 to Bacardi, actually, but it is produced in France, and it is an extremely smooth vodka. So we're going to put 4 ounces of vodka right into our copper mug. So let's get that going. So 4 ounces. Going back to elementary school, we can all count to 4. 1, 2, 3, and I'm making a huge mess. 4. This is the first time I've ever made this drink, so I'm a total enthusiast. I just enjoy good cocktails, wine, beers, you name it. I don't discriminate. We are on number 3 on the second copper mug of the Grey Goose vodka. Number 4. And then we need to add sparkling cider. And we have Martinelli's gold medal sparkling cider. So it says 2/3 of sparkling cider. So I'm just going to guess. There we go. And then we're going to top it with ginger beer, which we have actually hard ginger beer. So apparently there's ginger beer that's non-alcoholic and ginger beer that's alcoholic. This is going to make for a stronger mule. So keep that in mind when you're getting your ginger beer at the liquor store. And then we garnish with an apple. I'm just throw it in. And a cinnamon stick to stir. So let's try it. Cheers. Oh, it smells delicious.
It tastes like apple pie.
It does. Oh my God, it's so good. So, Lyndsey, is there anything we can celebrate for you this week?
Well, I have one exciting piece. My son Cameron, who's 4, is back in preschool, so he was very excited.
Kids going back to school. Cheers to that. Awesome.
And the second would just be that I get to come home this week and spend some time with family, which is much needed and overdue. So.
Yeah. So she's back in Minnesota visiting family, although we're in Hudson, Wisconsin right now. So she'll hit the border after. So pretend I'm a kindergartner. Speaking of school, I'm sitting in my little desk. Explain to me what you do for a living, Linz.
So, plain and simple, I sell houses. So that's where one of my passion lies. It's really fun to be able to help people to be a part of their story, to build their foundation. So that is where my passion is drawn to. But then additionally, about a year ago now, I was connecting with a title and escrow company, so part of the home closing process, and giving some feedback. It was a real estate startup company. I was one of the very first homes that went through their process. So I gave them a shot very early on, and I met with them to give feedback, and while I was there, it was supposed to be a 20-minute coffee. It turned into a 2-hour lunch. I was so excited about it. I had all these ideas flowing, and I finally looked at them at the end and I said, I need to work with you. He goes, great. We'll use you for product feedback. And I was like, no, I need to work with you. So the next day I met the founders, and the following day I interviewed in Seattle. So
that's kick-ass. So tell me, how did you have the courage to even broach that subject when they were just asking for feedback on your experience?
I was so excited and so driven, and I saw the bigger picture, and prior to that, I had just been home with my kids doing real estate. I kept plenty busy with both of those, but I was just so excited and so driven that I knew I had to be a part of it.
That's awesome. And how bold is that? Were you nervous?
Not at all.
Really?
Yeah, not at all.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's rewind a little bit. What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I grew up, I wanted to be a mom, which check times 2, but beyond that, I knew that I was always passionate about people, but I didn't quite know where that was going to fit. So I love the social interaction. I love helping people. At one point, I wanted to be a doctor, and then after college, I was like, why wasn't I a doctor?
Right.
I ended up finding a path that I truly can be excited for every single day.
Awesome. And what did you study at Michigan Tech?
I studied business management and marketing.
Awesome. So you moved all the way across country to Seattle. What triggered the move, and then how did you reestablish yourself in a new geography?
Yeah, that's a really great question because that's never easy. But I'll start with the first portion. So I met my husband in college, and the funny story is I wanted to go to Seattle for college. I was recruited out there. Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I was recruited out there for volleyball. I went out and visited, and I absolutely loved it. It was perfect for me. But there was a slight little problem with the distance, and my mom didn't want me to go so far. And I was also recruited by Michigan Tech. So my cousin Amber actually was up there, so it kind of was nice feel to know that I had family close by. So I ended up going there and meeting the only person from the entire West Coast.
It was kismet.
Yeah,
you were supposed to be.
I was supposed to be there. Yeah. So we came back to Minnesota for a little while after college, and then just decided. When I graduated, it was 2010. So very hard to get even an entry level job with the market.
Oh, right.
After 2008,
right.
And so we just felt like we might have more opportunity out there and to give it a shot. So.
Sure. And then tell me, how did you acclimate? Because I know I've traveled one time from Seattle to Boston, and it's different.
Yes, yeah. So one of the biggest challenges for me was coming from Minnesota, where everybody is very friendly, everyone's chatting, they wave to you on the streets, to Seattle, which is like a little bit darker and gloomy, and people are very kind of in their own zone or in their own world. And so it was trying to figure out, how do I blend in with that but still keep my own personality?
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced, was even just making friends. So I ended up getting very lucky and joining a restaurant where I managed, and have a bunch of really genuinely nice people there. And so that was kind of how I stepped foot into Seattle.
And she met the one and only Jeff Bezos, who I admire. He's one of my favorite. Amazon makes me drool. I love innovation. I love what they're doing. They are forging new ground. They believe anything is possible as long as it doesn't defy the laws of physics. But she got to meet him, so you have to tell me, because she didn't even know who he was. So tell us the story.
So being bright-eyed, bushy-tailed from Minnesota, I didn't necessarily even know who Jeff Bezos was or what he did. And I was about 20 or 21 at the time when I met him, and he and his family would come in. He had a very sweet wife, Mackenzie, and 4 beautiful children, and it was just very humbling to meet them. I didn't know who he was, and so I just talked to them like they were any other person coming into the restaurant. They eventually started coming back regularly and visiting me, and I got to know their family and their kids. And it was just a really unique situation. And one day I finally, he He has a black card. I don't know if you would guess that, but I was like, wow, this is really heavy. So I look at his name and I go home, as I'm checking him out, and I go home and I'm like, I'm going to Google that. And I was actually on my Kindle, the Amazon Fire.
I just saw her on her.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I had no idea. And when they came back, I didn't skip a beat. I just continued to treat them the same way. And I think they just really appreciated that. And
of course.
Real conversation.
Of course. But what a cool story. Googled the name on the Black Amex. Jeff Bezos, the richest dude in the world. I love that story. So I know you work for a successful tech-based real estate startup. How did you identify, knowing that they were on this, that they were such a growing company and you knew you had to jump on board?
Well, the typical closing home process for a home is kind of antiquated. And so every time I would go through the experience, I had no idea what was going on, in the sense that there's no visibility into your transaction. One of the really interesting pieces, what this company is providing, is actually a website portal that you can go on. We call it our Modus platform. And you can go on there, you can watch the whole transaction, you see the tasks that are assigned to you as a buyer or a seller. In the home closing process, it's very stressful. You don't necessarily know what you're doing. If you don't have a great agent that can hold your hand, you feel completely lost. So this is something to kind of step back, make it easier, make the client feel confident and comfortable.
I love that.
So
I want that because I know that I felt like we were kind of left in the dark. And that's total transparency. Like, I would know where we are in the steps of the process.
And, you can find all your documents on there. As a real estate agent, I find it super helpful because all of my information for all of my files are in one place. If I want to know what's going on, I can quickly look at any of them.
Awesome. So tell me, what challenges, Lyndsey, have you faced during your career?
Throughout my career, one of the biggest challenges for me is, if you are not happy and driven in the position that you're in, it's very hard to be motivated to go anywhere else or to take the next step. Yeah. And even, I could say even probably accurately for a lot of my friends too, it's like when you're in that role, you just don't know where or how or when. So something that's really important to me as I lead my team is trying to figure out what are their strengths, what are their passions within the company, and so that I can kind of lead them or excite them on staying with our company and seeing which routes they could grow into.
Awesome. And how do you do that? How do you identify your team's strengths?
So currently with my team, I meet one-on-one with each of them every week and just give 15 to 30 minutes. I'll ask them to go for a walk. We'll go down and have coffee, or we'll sit in the office, whatever is best for that day. And we just really quickly go over wins for the week, highlights, any issues or problems. How can we, just give them an open forum to talk about what's going on for them. And through that and through just watching how they work or who they work with, I've been able to kind of identify little keywords for them. So, for example, one of my team members is so detail-oriented on the client experience. So we created a whole team, and we're able to pull other people from the company to that experience team, so then we can, as a company, make sure that the checkpoints are being met.
Right. Client experience, customer experience, such a hot topic right now. So many companies have teams, creating teams around that. It's awesome. Forbes pushed out an article about millennials, and they feel the 5 things that we know millennials want from a job. So I want you to verify or deny, okay? They expect employer benefits that fit and match their values.
True.
Loyalty is more valuable than they let on to.
Very true.
They want retirement investment options, able to prioritize family.
Yes.
And social impact is key.
Yes.
So what's most important to you?
Well, to me, with children at my age, I really appreciate having time with my family. One of the biggest benefits that I love about my company is that anytime I have something going on, it's perfectly fine for me to work from home, to adjust my schedule, to be a part of those events. At previous employers, I haven't had that opportunity. And so it's really important to me. And I want to work 10 times harder. I want to be more loyal to them when they give me those opportunities.
Great. So how did you set the expectation in the beginning to have those opportunities to work from home and that flexibility versus the previous company you worked at?
Well, actually, within my company, they're setting the expectation themselves.
Oh, awesome. So what would you say, what's the percentage of millennials that they employ? Do you know off the top of your head?
Actually, being a startup company, I would say there's probably about 80% of the company is
Awesome.
millennials.
Awesome. I love that. So then, I've heard the stigma of millennials have a sense of entitlement. And I've got to tell you, I love millennials. I employ millennials. They are phenomenal. I'm a Gen Xer. I need people to push me and to challenge me. And they always have such great ideas. So I'm a total champion of all generations because we can learn something from every single generation. But the sense of entitlement that is a bias out there, have you experienced that?
Well, I definitely can see where people would have that idea or notion, but when you step back and look at the situation, I think the biggest piece is truly just that they are wanting more. In a generation where we can have everything very fast, I think that's why it's mistaken as entitlement. They want to move up quickly. They want to grow fast. They don't want to be in the beginning positions. They want to get to the top. And so I think that that's more along the lines. So that's what I see amongst my team.
I love that perspective. I haven't heard that before. That
So
totally makes sense.
As a manager, then we can support that and try to and push them up and help to boast that for them.
Right. Awesome. So what generational differences have you noticed in the workplace then?
One of the things that I've noticed is maybe some, how would you phrase it,
Like a baby boomer?
Yes, okay.
Baby boomer.
Okay.
Older than my Gen X generation.
Yeah, well, you just don't want to call somebody elderly or old.
Yeah, no, baby boomers. All the people that are retiring right now.
I think that a lot of them provide structure. So from within that community, there's a lot of structure, which is very helpful. It's a great balance.
Sure.
And then, just experience. We all can learn something every single day, whether
Absolutely.
it's they're learning something from us or we're learning from them. It's best to kind of blend the two.
Right. Have you ever experienced where the generational gap makes it difficult to collaborate or communicate with coworkers?
I haven't necessarily felt that, but I also am kind of right in the middle at my
Sure.
company. But I would say, so if we look back at real estate, which I'm my own business owner for real estate, so oftentimes I think that people trust me and they value my opinions, but there will be times when somebody doesn't choose me as their agent, I think, because I am a younger generation. So I see that very often in the real estate world. So to overcome that, I just make sure that I'm very knowledgeable and that I know I stay on top of things and I hold the whole process for them.
Sure.
And my goal is to make the luxury experience. So luxury is an experience, not a price point. So every single person I talk to, I want them to feel that from me.
Awesome. I love that. So you mentioned which we've talked about, side hustles and side gigs, and you've got one too. So how do you manage both, having a day job and a side hustle?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's, a very fine balance, but within my regular day-to-day work, I do adjust my schedule. I'm a morning person. I like to get in, get the job done, stay really focused, and so that way I can also provide time to my real estate clients.
Sure.
Who likely, they're working 9 to 5 and they don't need me until the evenings. And so just creating that balance and then, giving up weekends for real estate. But when it's a passion, it's not that you're giving it away. Right. You're hanging out or having fun.
Yeah,
so.
It's not work like what I do every day. It's not recruiting is not work to me. It's just my passion and I love it. I could do it 24/7. Although I do need sleep, so I don't know. Anyway, so social media, being a millennial, social media has been so much more prevalent than in like my generation, which I have 2 young daughters and I'm petrified of the day they have phones and they're in social media because that's a ball game I didn't experience, right? But when you entered the workforce, did you need to transition your personal brand or how you were showing up on social media, and how did you do that?
I actually separated out my personal business. So real estate, I have my own page for that. And then I've got my personal page for my family and friends. I really try to limit the amount of time that I'm on social media. Obviously with the kids, I don't want to be connected to my phone. But one piece of advice that I have that I see all the time and kind of drives me nuts from the millennial generation is that even when you're out, when you're heading to work, when you're riding the elevator, when you're out in the world, get off of it. It's okay. Enjoy your actual life.
Right. And maybe, you mean like feel the steps that you're walking on the ground beneath you?
Yeah.
When you're walking down the street?
When you're home laying on the couch, go ahead and peruse your social media. But one thing that has really benefited me within my company is I ride the elevator every day, not with headphones on, not looking at my phone, not checking when the next meeting is. I ride the elevator every day, intentionally going in to meet people. So
I love that.
And I've noticed within our building at least, that the generation, or my generation, is always on their phone, and the older generations are not. And it's provided me opportunities to meet with business executives that I have no idea, just like Jeff Bezos. I treat everybody the same, but it provides you new opportunities or relationships or connections, especially when you're trying to expand your business, like recruiting or real estate. You're making connections out there.
And the key word you said was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So where else are you intentional about paying attention or showing up so that you are open to the opportunities that are coming your way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person, even in the line for coffee, I'm talking to the next person. So it is a slight adjustment in a place where people aren't used to that.
Sure.
But I think people really appreciate it. So.
Awesome. I love that. Yes, be intentional. Live in the moment. Be aware of your surroundings, and you'll never know who you're going to meet, right? You've met some awesome people. I know you've even met some Seattle Seahawks players. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the famous people you've met?
Well, I met Joey Tribbiani. It was really funny. I was walking through the restaurant. He was looking at me. I was looking at him, and I was like, do I know you? And ended up having a good laugh about it and taking a picture with him.
That's right.
Plenty of Seahawks players, the coach, Pete Carroll, I've got a picture with him. You know, I think as long as you're treating people as just regular human beings, they want to live a normal life too. They don't want to be interrupted all the time. And I think throughout my experience, at least, like, it's given me the most opportunity when you just treat them like you would want to be.
Right. So as a hiring leader, what's your favorite interview question to ask your prospective future employees?
You know, I don't necessarily have a favorite interview question, but my job when I go into interviews that I love is I like to calm the interviewee.
Oh, I love that. I love it when my clients do that too. We have a bunch of clients who do that. But then you've got some that are total put on the interview poker face. They're totally stoic and they don't even show their person. I'm like, really? That's going to hook people to want to work for you?
Yeah. So I always like to be the first one to get in there with the person. And then I typically feel like I can tell quickly if I think you'll be a good cultural fit or not. That's usually where my role kind of lies within the company. And then also, once that piece is taken care of, I want to ensure that that person, if everyone else gives them the thumbs up, I want to ensure that they're coming to us. I don't want to be their second pick. I want to be their number one.
Awesome.
So I make sure that I talk up the company. I tell them about all the amazing pieces.
Yeah, free lunches every day from whatever place you want it delivered from.
Yeah.
Selling candidates on wanting your company to be the top pick. What are you sharing with them?
So basically, you have the choice every single day to be a part of your company or to be a part of a different company. Your desire to work there every day, like this should feel like your hobby, not your job. You don't ever want to choose a place that feels like it's mundane and you're going to be overworked. You want to make sure that this is something fun and exciting. And so that's my biggest push for our interviewees.
Awesome. And have you landed every candidate that you guys wanted to hire?
We have.
Cheers to that.
We also are only about 1.5 years old, so that's helpful.
Well, that can also be a challenge too. Like people are like, you don't have a track record. They're very cautious. So kudos to you and your interview team for landing all those people. So if you were to sit down with your 20-year-old self, what would you say? What's the biggest piece of advice?
I think the biggest piece of advice would be to take chances. I now do that, but my 20-year-old self didn't. I was so desperate to ask Lyndsey Bezos to coffee because I loved her. She was great. We had great conversations, but she was a little bit older than me, and I kept thinking, well, she probably doesn't want to do that with me. So it's one of those things where I kick myself now, and that was also before I knew who she was. Right? But so that's one of the pieces I kick myself for now is if I was younger, just taking the chances and not worrying about what the outcome is. Everything always works out. You're always going to be driven to get better, to do more, but just to take the leaps early.
Awesome. I love that. And for hiring leaders, to find my hiring guide on how to find the best talent, go to careersandcocktails.com. For job seekers, you can go to the same website to find where you can purchase my book, I Hate Mondays. And if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss an update. Cheers!